Evie, feel free to start. Thank you very much.
Okay, and welcome everyone from around the world, and thank you to those joining us live and to those listening to us afterwards. A big welcome as well to our guests today, whom I will shortly introduce, and just some general announcements before I go into the specifics for our webinar. I am sure you're all aware of the wonderful World Congress that FIP is organising every year. The 81st one of this series is taking place this September in Australia with an exciting programme in place. And if you would like to take advantage of the early bird registration rate, please do so by 15th of June. Apologies for 10 seconds. I'm trying to regain control of the slides. Okay. And also just to remind you of FIP's journal, Pharmacy Education, where you can publish your research. This journal is perfect for practitioners and early career academics, provides a very supportive environment and has no associated costs. So please do keep it in mind. Is that okay, Carola? It's not full screen at the moment. Thank you. So on to our event today. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for the messages in the chat. Nice to see where everyone is from. So we are pleased to be delivering this event. It's the third in a series of 4 digital events on mentorship. And last time we examined relationships and communication among peers to facilitate successful collaboration. The event today will focus on the responsibilities and behaviours of the organisations in promoting successful mentoring. And you will hear how buy-in from administrators and leaders, how recognising good mentoring, incorporating training and establishing a culture of mentorship, but also investing resources, all result not only in initial success of a mentoring programme, but also its long-term viability. The programme will feature research outlining successful practices, as well as speakers with leadership responsibility for long-standing effective mentoring programmes. I am Effie Mantzourani, an academic pharmacist, working for 2 institutions, Cardiff University and Digital Health and Care Wales. And in my career, I have been quite passionate. I've been researching in the area of reflective practice and how it supports workforce developments. And as part of that, I have had the opportunity to complete a piece of work on mentoring with some of the speakers in this series. So I'm really very much looking forward to today's event as well, to listen to what they will share with us. Please note that this event will be recorded, live streamed on FIP YouTube profile and will be available at events.fip.org. To all those listening, please feel free to send your questions through the Q&A box, and we will be picking those up throughout today's session. Also to note that the certificate of attendance will automatically be sent to you after the event. So I'm now pleased to be introducing our panelists. And first we will be hearing from Professor Saint Desel, who will we'll talk to you about evidence from the literature on successful mentoring programs. Then from Dr. Andy Lowe with reflections of building a sustainable mentorship program in a College of Pharmacy, followed by Sanna Passi with experiences of an all-encompassing national program for pharmacists in Finland. Our speakers will cover the following learning objectives as discussed at the start of this webinar. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our first speaker, Professor Shane Dessel. Shane has his pharmacy degree and PhD in social behavioral pharmacy from University of Louisiana, Monroe. He is currently professor and associate dean for research and professional affairs at Touro University, California, in the College of Pharmacy. He's founding editor of two great journals, Research in Social and Administrative Pharmacy and Exploratory Research for Clinical and Social Pharmacy. Shane is a Fulbright Special Scholar, researches and assists in the establishment of various mentoring programs, wealth of experience there, in addition to research on pharmacy workforce and organizational culture in various pharmacy settings. He has recently co-edited text of a book, Contemporary Research Methods in Pharmacy and Health Services, and also shared the honor of winning the Wiederhold Award for Best Paper in the Journal of American Pharmaceutical Association. Shane, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Mantzourani. And again, welcome everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, night. As Dr. Mantzourani mentioned, this is the third of our fourth programs. And to that end, I'm going to take that into account. The talks today are independent of those in a sense, but it is helpful that you might have attended either of the first two. And I'm going to come at this from a standpoint of somewhat building from those programs. And let's see. Okay, I'm trying to. So like I said, to that end, I'm going to come at this from the standpoint of kind of building upon what we've done, and also in light of our fourth digital event. And I should mention this to you now because these are summating in the final event in June, where we're actually going to have the executive director from FIP, Ms. Catherine Dugan, to speak about mentoring and talk about potential mentoring platforms for FIP coming up worldwide. So we're really excited about how this has been going and how this is going to end. So most of our audience is in one of these areas. They're either in academia, or they're a staff pharmacist, or they're a clinical pharmacist somewhere. And regardless of which setting that you're in, it is increasingly difficult in the work environment. Many of us, no matter what setting we're in, we teach others. We're engaged in research, whether that's designing it or being under the auspices of someone else. We have accreditation agencies to worry about. We have change planning to manage because things are always changing. We have to satisfy stakeholders from everywhere, from patients to bosses to organizations. So we have to foster innovation, establish trust, establish culture and climate. And this requires advising, coaching, development, motivation, and mentorship. See if I can easily move this down or use, okay. So I have, if you look up mentoring, there's so many definitions. This is one that I particularly care for several reasons, because it refers it to as a nurturing process. We view this as I'll explain more on the next slide, as a whole life process. When you're helping someone just to be better skilled at something, that's really more of maybe a coach, maybe an advisor. But when you consider the context of a whole individual and the intimacy of that relationship is how we view mentoring, and how organizations are increasingly view mentoring And I think how FIP is going to be viewing it in their platforms moving forward. So as I mentioned, whole life mentoring is not merely to improve a particular skill. It focuses on the development of that individual. Yes, you help them master the craft. You're also a champion of them. You're also a co-pilot with them. You're also an anchor that keeps that person steadily grounded, both psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, as the case might be. And of course, but I always tell you that unless you are learning from your mentee, you are not really mentoring that well. And that's what we mean by reverse mentoring, because if you're really good, then that means the person is eventually sharing things with you and that you are learning. I've done a fair amount of research in this area and related areas. And so we took a look at something, we've taken looks at things in the organization like people's burnout and peer collegiality, their intention to leave an organization. And so we've been working with this sort of model for quite some time. And we've seen that people acquire support from their supervisors, acquire support from their employers. And if they're satisfied with the relationships that they have their peers, then they're more likely to stay with their jobs. Related to this is the whole concept of resilience. You've probably seen some recent research on resilience. It's being talked about a lot. It's highly related to things like emotional intelligence. If you're resilient, you're less likely to spend as much emotional labor. You're less likely to become tired. You're less likely to become burned out. If you're resilient, that even results in improved patient safety through reduction in errors. We've seen it result in assuming new roles. We've seen resilience be responsible for better customer service with patients, better communication with your peers and colleagues. And again, the reason I mention this is because it's all tied to mentoring, because mentoring helps to promote resilience, which helps to promote these things as well. As I mentioned, if people, there has been some recent studies that show that if people are formally mentored, most people have at least some informal mentoring, but most results show that if people are formally mentored, then they are more likely to be committed, they're more likely to be satisfied, less likely to be burned out. Oops. And when we mentor, we're better at it when we engage in something called transformational leadership. This is a contrast with transactional leadership, where you're just telling someone they're doing a good job, not doing a good job, telling someone how to do their job. This is establishing a vision, investing in people, heightening others' desire to succeed to the point where they would want to walk through a brick wall for you, okay? It lets people know how they fit. And this is a great tie-in with mentoring, is letting people know how they fit into the future of an organization. We don't have time, obviously, nor this is the place to actually take the time to do this. But I want you to think aloud about these kinds of things. What sort of transactional and transformational leadership qualities do you excel in? What about transformational leadership? Just those few things I had on the last slide. To what extent do you see that practice in your work environment? I would dare to say that it's not that common in most pharmacy settings, be it the community, be it hospital, be it academia, be it wherever. Is it increasing? I would like to think so. I hope so. But there's still a lot of room to grow. What are your own strengths and limitations in transformational leadership? And for that matter, developing and coaching and mentoring others. How can you help build resilience among your peers and your work colleagues? And that gets to creating an entire mentorship culture. What is culture? Well, there's all sorts of, again, it's another thing where if you look it up in Google Scholar, if you look it up even in Wikipedia, the dictionary, you're going to see all sorts of definitions. This third one here is very simple, but it's actually, even in the very fancy scholarly academic text, is the one that's cited most frequently. It's simply how things are done. And so we're talking about creating a culture of mentorship where it's almost second nature, that everyone feels the need They want to mentor other people. They don't just do it because someone says they have to. It becomes sort of an infectious sort of thing. And if you look at organizational culture, there's all sorts of names that we see in the literature for these. And, you know, culture of fear, market culture, hierarchical culture, internal versus external, and so forth and so on. And just if you look at pharmacy journals themselves, you see culture of sensitivity, culture of engagement, culture of diversity, culture of service learning. But what about mentoring? Really, mentoring is part of this whole, this is a diagram that shows basically the ins and outs of an organization, if you will. There's the inner things like what is true about an organization, how do we promote culture? Then we are surrounded by leaders of an organization, from the CEO to the COO, and then that is surrounded then by people external to the environment. All those things affects what we do and what we say on a day-to-day basis. So how do we get at culture? How do we measure it? Where does mentoring fit into all of this? So if you look at culture, and there's some recent literature on this, there's different aspects of culture, such as performance orientation, which is empowering other people to achieve, fostering professionalism. Again, you see mentoring just written all over these items, emphasizing quality, emphasizing achievement, praising and recognizing good performance of people. Social responsibility, being reflective, being responsive to the needs of neighboring organizations. If you're an academic institution, or if you work in a hospital, for example, and being reflective, being involved in helping the underserved, being involved in other organizations around you, being innovative, showing other people how to be innovative. It's one thing to be innovative yourself. It's yet another that you provide an infrastructure, you invest in human capital so that other people can be innovative as well. But at the same time, even though you want to be you want to be taking risks, but you also want to help contribute to stability. I know a lot of times in pharmacy academia right now, and I know a number of our audience members are in pharmacy academia, not all of them are. Some of you I know are in retail, some of you are in ambulatory and hospital. But, you know, suffice it to say, in healthcare around the world, and in academic context, in pharmacy context, we see labor shortages, we see burnout, and we see decreases in enrollment in academic enterprises. And some organizations are weathering the storm. They're resilient themselves. Not only the people resilient, but the organization is resilient. So how do you contribute to maintaining a sense of peace, calm, stability, and in turbulent times? Because there's always turbulent times, whether you're in hospital, community, academia, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And again, this screams at mentorship as well, emphasis on collegial support, recognizing the value in everyone's contributions. And that's something we often fail to do. I know that I do some research, for example, in technicians. FIP has a number of programs on technicians, and we often talk about these things, how organizations don't let technicians know the value that they are bringing to the organization and what they are doing. And so they feel uncertain about their future. And if they're not mentored and they're not meant to feel valued, they're more likely to quit, they're more likely to turn over, they're more likely to be burned out, they're more likely to be dissatisfied, and they're more likely to make mistakes, and they're more likely to make patients and customers feel uneasy. So collegiality obviously is very, very important to this. And we can talk about collegiality forever, but it can manifest in citizen leaders and advocates among our peers, among students, among mentees, and peers as well. So we sort of say that collegiality can manifest in organizational citizenship behaviors. So that's, what do I do at my workplace? As you should be asking yourself, what do I do, okay, that is beyond what is the description of my job? Everyone has, or at least most people have a job description. It says you will do X at this time, Y. You will be responsible for this and this on a daily, monthly, yearly basis, what have you. But what do you do outside of that to try to promote an effective climate, to promote camaraderie, to promote happiness, to promote content? So you look at the things here that's actually been measured in citizenship behaviors. You will see some that are positively, some that are negatively worded. Be wary of these things. Do you create negative energy in the organization? Let's hope not. Do you not show up for meetings? On the other hand, do you consistently volunteer? Because these role models, because one of the most important things about mentoring is role model to others. So if you're disrespectful, but on the other hand, if you go above and beyond the job requirements, then that's going to be infectious. You accepting responsibility, not taking the credit for the work of others. In fact, you should, especially as a mentor, you should defer credit to others. Let others shine the spotlight, even if you're the one behind that's pulling all the strings. Keep your commitments. Provide quality feedback on other people's work. Return communication in a timely fashion. Keep confidence when asked to and when appropriate. So again, just don't have time. We don't have the time or venue to do it today, but think about this. Reflect about a real extraordinary act of positive citizenship. Even in today's world where things are cutthroat and some people don't get along, there's always some people doing some really nice, positive things. And so think about a time when someone really role modeled this, sort of created this culture. And so how did it affect you personally? I mean, maybe it was done to you. Maybe you just witnessed it. And did the organization take advantage of it? So when somebody went above and beyond to help everybody else, did the organization take advantage of that? Suppose a superior team member, a senior team manager exhibits poor citizenship. How should that be handled among senior staff, among administrators? So taking that into consideration, let's talk about the design of a mentoring program and instilling the culture. Okay, and that is to think about for those of you who are leaders in the organization. So you have to think about how people are accountable for actually being mentors. Try to mimic informal mentoring. The program should be formal. It should be assessed. It should be systematic. But don't try to curtail organic friendships, mentoring relationships that occur. It should probably be mandatory, but yet for new employees. But on the other hand, it should be mandatory for new employees, but voluntary for senior members, because the last thing you want is for someone to be a mentor who doesn't want to be a mentor. Because if someone doesn't want to be a mentor, I guarantee you they will not be a good one. Try to breed a desire for participation by establishing sort of sticks and carrots, okay? So advantages for people that participate. This is the goals of a mentoring program we had at a college that I was at, not the current one, but one recently. Continuance, and this was for faculty. I know some of you are faculty, some of you are not. Continue and supplement new faculty orientation by helping them learn about the institution. Promote and encourage development. Advise and counsel on development and be a liaison. Identify resources for people. Develop role modeling behaviors. Facilitate self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-esteem. Ameliorate stress that arises from everyone's overload. Facilitate lifelong and productive, rewarding relationships. Promote collaboration between mentors and mentees. So again, we assess the program. This was in an academic context. Obviously, if you're in a hospital or if you're in ambulatory, you're going to have different methods of assessing the program. But we assessed our program based upon the productivity and the satisfaction of the people that were in it. We made sure we had development activities. We had programming for mentors and mentees. We had people self-reporting on the extent to which they were satisfied, the extent to which they were fulfilled. The organization and its leaders must support a mentorship culture. We must invest time. We must implement formal recognition of mentors. We must share in the successes. We must think holistically, and we have to meld mentoring with other aspects of the organization's metrics like productivity, merit, the allocation of the FTEs, programming, messaging. All of these kinds of things have to be melded with mentorship and a mentorship culture in mind. So think aloud again. Think about a mid-level employee. That's someone with a moderate amount of experience, without the best attitude. What do? They decided they will not take part in the mentoring program, and it will also ramp down their productivity. How do we handle that? Organizational citizenship seems fairly poor in the organization, has been deteriorating. And speaking with colleagues, they point to evidence in such erosion at other organizations, but it seems to be a little worse at yours. How do you handle that? How does a mentoring program in which you are involved currently work? What is alike and unlike some of the things that have been presented so far today, and some of the things that are going to be presented by some of my colleagues here in just a few moments? What sort of challenges do you face in improving an existing mentorship program or a new one? And how might these challenges be overcome? So that was a lot. I purposely had more slides than I could really cover in a great length of time. Again, we have other digital events as well. And I think these slides will be made available to you so that even if I didn't spend a long time on that, you can look at it and digest it. I have some references for you to think about, references for you to look up. There is so much there in mentoring, and we don't necessarily realize the wealth of things on the internet, even on organizations' websites, as well as the peer-reviewed literature for best practices. Believe me, if you look for it, it will be there. And having said that, it's been delighting to spend a few moments with you. And I'm very delighted to turn this over to I would be delighted to turn it to Dr. Law, even if I didn't know her, because I know what she's contributed to the literature and mentorship. I know how good she is, but I happen to know her, and I know that she's an extraordinary mentor herself. So I'm really happy to turn the floor over to her.
Thank you, Shane. This was a great presentation. Please remember everyone to put any questions in the chat. I would like to now introduce you to our second speaker, Dr. Andy Law. Dr. Law is an established educator and scholar who helped develop a mentorship program at Western University of Health Sciences, College of Pharmacy in California, that has sustained for more than 15 years. She has served as a mentor to faculty and department chairs at the national level with her experience in both roles. Dr. Law directs an American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy peer-reviewed fellowship, which has graduated 9 fellows since 2003. She mentors PharmD students, pharmacy residents, and has served as an Academy of Managed Care Pharmacy and Academy of Student Pharmacies Club advisor. Dr. Law maintains an active research profile focused on practice and payment transformation, health outcomes measurement, and pharmacists' roles in improving medication use outcomes. And Andy, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Mantzourani, and thank you, Dr. Dessel, for the very warm welcome. And good day to everyone, because I know that you're all in different time zones across the world. I'm very excited to present this talk, and I'm currently Associate Dean of Assessment at Western University of Health Sciences. So in that role, I also will be presenting on how we looked at some mentorship programs. So as it says in my bio, we've had this program for more than 15 years now, and we developed it because we were in a college really, which was a little newer. And so we attracted talent which was fresh out of college, programs, fresh out of training, and they were all high energy. They really wanted to do well, but we all needed a little bit of help. And that's where we recognized that we needed a mentorship program. So we really built it from scratch, and I'm very happy to say it still is existing and flourishing. So I'll talk a little bit about specifics. Dr. Dessel gave you a very broad sweep and a very high-level sweep of some wonderful things that is needed both at the organizational level and at the mentorship level. And I'll try to operationalize and present some specifics on that. And if you have any questions, please do put it on the chat or in the Q&A. All right. So this is the title of my sub-talk, which is Building a Sustainable Mentorship Program in a College of Pharmacy. So the first thing we need to recognize is you cannot have a one-size-fits-all. Each program or each college or each institution, whether you're in corporate, whether you're in a community pharmacy, hospital, academia, it needs to be customized to your institution. You need to examine the needs. You need to examine whether you have mentors available within, what is the structure of the program, how are you going to make it happen? So you really need to customize it to your institution. So what I'm trying to do here is build some considerations so that you can look at it and say, okay, yeah, this is how I can adapt some of these considerations to my institution. And a lot of what I'll be talking about, and I'll drop this in the chat and also put it later, is based on, it's already available in the American Journal of Pharmaceutical Education journal. We published this in 2012, our whole team, and it's the paper is called, let's see the name of the paper, A Formal Mentorship Program for Faculty Development, and I'm the last author on that. If you want to search for it, you can even find it on Google. So that has, all the details that I'm going to be presenting, which I won't be able to look at every detail, but that gives you a very good idea of how our program is built. And I'll talk also about some of the changes we made. So we'd have to consider what are some factors within your institutions, then how do you implement the program, and how do you assess the program? As I mentioned, that's currently what I do. And assessment is important because you need to put it back and say, what do we need to change? What is a continuous quality improvement? How do you need to keep improving the program? So what is mentorship? And Dr. Dessel gave you an idea of, what is mentorship? Mentorship in an academic program, it's usually colleagues who work in the same work environment, and it's not necessary that they have to be your senior. You can learn from everyone. It's called lifelong learning for a purpose. We learn from each other. I learned so much from my students, from residents, from fellows, from everyone. So it's colleagues in the same work environment. Sometimes they're more advanced in the workforce. And when we talk about mentorship, it's usually more of what are you learning from someone who's been through the cycle, who's been through the experience. So somebody who's more advanced or more, progressed within their career path, who helps you in prioritizing your goals and your time management. So you really want to, get some idea of, okay, how do I get promoted? How do I make sure that my research is meaningful? How do I make sure that I have, I'm able to collaborate with other people? So there's so many questions, and they help you in prioritizing, especially when you're junior faculty or junior member in an organization. You want to do everything and you want to do it all at once. And a mentor can help calm you down and say, there is time. Why don't you pick this first? And your supervisor can do that too. But a mentor has, this broad experience and doesn't necessarily, they don't sign your paycheck. They are not the ones responsible for your career. So the advice they give you is very rich because it does not have the pressure of having you progress through your career. They're there to help you. They're your go-to person, but they don't necessarily hold, the supervision or the supervisor hold on you. So you don't have to, be stressed about them. Oh, if I do this, they're going to think I'm not committed. A mentor is really someone who helps you through everything, who's an advocate and a guiding light, as you see in that picture there, and someone who, really says, encourages you and is kind of your cheerleader. And they help in teaching, research, and service. Those are the TRS here. And the different kinds of types of mentors, as Dr. Dessel mentioned. Is a mentor a friend? Could be, but that's not their first, role. And you could become good friends with your mentor, but that is usually not how it starts, right? Are they your coach? Yes, they could be. But again, a coach could be someone who's responsible for your performance. And so a mentor could have some aspects of a coach, but is not really one who's responsible for your career? You are. In a corporate atmosphere, a mentor would be someone who's trying to get you up the ladder. In the community, you could have a mentor who can, advise you on how to kind of get more involved in community service. You could have mentoring circles where you kind of, speed dates. So you kind of go around and get mentored by a bunch of people. You could have networking mentoring also. These are different kinds of mentorship. So this is, if any of you have watched The Karate Kid or Cobra Kai on Netflix, you'll see that this is from there. So it's really about, it is a relationship driven by gain on both sides, right? As Dr. Dessel mentioned, it's not only the mentee or the protege who gains, it's also the mentor. So benefits of mentorship to organization. So it does not only benefit the mentor or the mentee or the protege, right? It benefits everyone in the process. So in our program, for example, the mentor helps you orient to faculty life. So if you're new faculty, kind of give you a broad, because yes, it's teaching, it's scholarship, it's service, it's collegiality, it's external service, the basic things. But this is someone who can just orient you to say, what's important? What do you need to focus on in your first few years? How can you build yourself? So they orient you, they help you with career planning and say, what, don't take on too much initially because you could burn out. And you can prioritize. And why don't you try this method or that method? So they're helping you with the career planning. They get you an understanding of promotion. How do you get promoted? What are the really things that you really need to focus on because there is so much to do. With faculty engagement, why don't you attend this? We're having a celebration. You should attend because it helps engagement. Come to commencement, come to graduation because it helps you engage, get involved in faculty affairs. It helps you with the commitment because now you have someone to go with, someone who can say, come, I'll walk with you. Let's go and see what's going on there. You feel like you have a comfort zone there, and then you can start building your own networks. It's greater productivity for the organization because as Dr. Dessel mentioned, there's benefits of having a mentor who can then, encourage you. And then as you have greater productivity all over, it benefits the organization. And that helps in retention, which is people don't leave, right? There's not much turnover, which we see now and across academia. There's the great resignation. Everybody's moving around. So, and that has something to do with the pandemic and how things are changing for us. But definitely, it helps with retention, and that helps with recruitment because as you have people and there's a stable organization, people want to join you. So it helps with recruitment as well. If you don't have mentorship within the organization, it could lead to isolation. Nobody cares about me. Why am I even here, right? Or stress, saying, I have no one to help me. I don't know who to look up to. I don't even know what to do in this situation. And turnover, because they're like, you know what? I'm disengaged. I don't care about this place anymore. I have no loyalty. If I find another opportunity, I'm going to jump ship, right? So mentorship really helps in creating all of the things which are, you see in the top of the slide. And lack of a mentorship could lead to some of, or at least is correlated with some of the things you see at the bottom. And what are the benefits to mentee? Well, identifying goals and strategies, as I mentioned before, self-confidence and self-esteem, because now you have someone who's kind of leading you. They're almost like, and I don't want to say the word, but they're almost like a parent to you. They're almost like somebody who's saying, come along and we can help you. And they build your confidence, build self-esteem. And it's something which is like a domino effect. The more you have the relationship, not only with the mentor, but other people in your organization, the more you feel like you belong, you feel confident, you feel like you're adding value, and that builds your self-esteem. Career advice, of course, new perspectives. Sometimes I have faculty coming and saying, I don't know why they do that. And I'm like, have you thought about it this way? So I think it gives you a little bit more newer perspective. So you're not only looking at it one direction and, it opens your eyes to other ways. New skills, like, I don't know how to do this. Well, why don't you take this workshop? Why don't you learn about it? And we are constantly learning. Improved work-life balance, because now you know that you're comfortable at work, and that also helps you with, because we cannot fragment our lives no matter what we say, right? You're happy at home, it helps you with your work life. You're happy at work, it helps you with your home life. So it is kind of, it is not mutually exclusive. Reduce stress, as I mentioned before, and a feeling of belonging. What are the benefits to mentors? It's not without value for a mentor. I gain so much from being a mentor, and I'm constantly learning. So it provides me a value. It gives you a sense of fulfillment that you're helping other people, right? And giving is always something which builds joy to you. As people say, oh, thank you for what you did. It's just an acknowledgement, but you feel better and you have a self-actualization as you recognize that now you have enough to give others, right? It's not only about learning from others that you're able to give. So you're being able to pay forward, as we say. So it gives you a level of self-actualization. You're constantly learning. I say the best way to find help on anything technology, I just talk to my students. If I don't know how to do an infographic, I just say, how do you do it? Within 5 minutes, they have something built for me, or they'll show me how to do it. So learning in terms of technology, in terms of new ways. And I think that's why I love academia, is because there's so much energy around us with those who are younger, those who have experience, that you're constantly learning and giving back, as I mentioned before. And then there's the recognition of being someone's mentor. And that gives us, pride and gives us a sense of fulfillment. And you leave a legacy, right? You're creating a legacy of, like I have these 9 or 10 fellows now who are there, and they are, they've kind of someone I have trained, and then they go out and they train others, and you leave a legacy. And if it's positive, that helps you leave something behind. A mentor could be a facilitator, a connector, so for networks, a source of information, an advisor, a cheerleader, a role model. Some of the key characteristics of being a mentor is to listen, right? Active listening, counseling, advising, clarifying, motivating, and inspiring. A mentor is not someone who has all the answers. So it's not like you expect that you go to a mentor and they know everything. I have so many faculty, students, residents, department chairs come and ask me, I don't know all the answers. I'm learning too. So I'd be like, if I don't know it, I have to have the perspective to say, maybe you should ask someone else. It's not someone who says, no, you know what, you can only talk to me, only ask me, right? Because that's when your ego is driving it. But you're like, you know what, I'm not sure. Let's go find out together, or I can refer you to someone else. So a mentor is not someone who has all the answers or who's responsible for the mentee's career. I've had mentors tell me, I feel so disappointed. I didn't do well for my mentee because they didn't get promoted. You can only help someone. Finally, it's up to the mentee. The onus on building their career is up to them. You can only help them, right? So you're not responsible for the mentee's career. You can only help guide them. This is just some slides which I got from different places on Google. Mentoring is not about making everyone else the same as you. So you don't want your mentee to be a clone of you. Right? You want them to learn and grow, right? You don't want them exactly like you. Having done the mentoring skills questionnaire, I think I need a mentor to mentor me in improving my mentoring. And it may sound funny, but that is the truth, right? We're not all born mentors. Some people may be, but we need to learn too, right? I've had people mentoring saying, you know what? You're not responsible for that. You need to tell them and step back. So we need mentoring to be a good mentor as well. And we recognize that as we put a program together. Any challenges to being a mentor? It's never without challenges, right? Time. So if you have a mentee, you need to establish some boundaries of time. Is there an incentive? And that's, again, we really struggle with that as we build a program. What kind of incentive can we offer? And I'll talk about a couple of incentives we did offer. One is, we just had lunch with every meeting, which we paid for, and we had to support, and to help encourage the meeting. And we had credit. So at the end of the year, if you were a mentor, you got like a point, some kind of count. Conflict. You tell your mentor something, they don't like it, or they have a different perspective, and that's going to happen. Right? It's never, any relationship is not free of conflict in our families, any workplaces, anywhere. But the idea is to not make the conflict bitter or not make the conflict a point of contention. It's where you are talking to someone and, you have to learn to agree and agree to disagree and say, sure, that's your way and this is my way, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be agreeable all the time, but you have to recognize there could be conflict. There could be relationship with sour when the mentee they doesn't want, and we also built this into our program where we basically said, you don't need to continue being with a mentor if you have outgrown it. So we leave a place so at the end of the year they actually can have a different mentor. So this is from another paper that we wrote, and this was through American Association of Colleges of Pharmacy. It was a large task force, and this was a paper we wrote in 2012. It's also in AJPE. And this is where we have a checklist for the development of faculty mentorship programs. We were, I think, 12 or 13 people who wrote this paper, and we created what we call a pears checklist. So it's, pear is the fruit and pear is the checklist. So it's funny and silly. But this is where we talk about some specifics. So I'll go over this quickly because I know I'm running out of time. So first is the P, the purpose of the mentorship program. What is the purpose within your organization? Is it faculty development, satisfaction, retention, all of the above? It could be many of them. Structure of the program. Do you want it formal or is it informal? Now, we chose to have a formal program where we actually assign mentees to mentors. We have the pairs because we recognize we needed it. But once they are promoted, it's an informal. You can pick your own mentor. You can do it the way. But we decided for the first 5 years or 6 years of a faculty life until they got promoted that it would be a formal structure. Is it short-term versus long-term? So you could have a program that is a 5-year program, and then you break it up. So we have a program where every year we renew a contract. And there have been pairs which have said, you know what, I think I want someone else, and that's fine. So no bitterness, no ego. It's just that, you want different things, or you want someone with the different skills. So it could be a program that is, built which has markers. Is it structured versus unstructured? We had a little bit unstructured first, where we said, just meet. You have to meet 4 times a year, but just meet whenever you want. And we recognized people were so busy that was not happening. So we actually moved our program now to where we have it 4 times a year, where we get all the mentors and mentees together. We have lunch. Each pair goes on and talks about either scholarship or teaching or service or collegiality or any other aspects of, for us as the academic life. So we made it a little bit more structured because just saying go do it yourself didn't seem to work. It didn't work for everyone. Internal versus external mentors. So you could have a mentor within the organization or external, and there's pros and cons to both, and we put it in our papers and you can read it. Collaborative mentoring, more than one person who's mentoring you, and this has, again, pros and cons. So that was the S. Structural details, you need to have policies and procedures, and who can serve as mentor, what credit do they get, how long is the program, how many meetings. We have forms for a form of agreement that you agree to be a mentor or mentee. And because, like Dr. Dessel said, you need to be willing, right? You can't just force somebody to be a mentor. That does not work at all. And then renewal every year. And then you can talk about areas of the academic profile. You might have a different mentor for each area, or you could have one go-to mentor. And different stages of mentoring, from assistant to associate professor, associate to full professor. So we really need to think about when. The I stands for implementation, identifying mentor and mentee, matching them. And in our institution, the department chair matches them because they're the one who see everyone's personality. And then setting expectations. What can you get from a mentorship program? And we have that written down as well. The A is for assessment. So we need to evaluate. So we have annual assessments of relationship quality. Did the mentor help you? Did the mentee, was this a good relationship? And program effectiveness. Did it help you towards something? And in the paper we talk about the different kind of things that we measured. And some of the things that we measured was it helped me with research, with practice, helped me develop a viable plan for future development, develop my abilities, familiarize me with the department, identified sources of research funds. So we have some specifics and we measure all of that and to see what is it that is being added in this relationship. And then the R stands for resources, which could be FITs, which is the fit. So one is funds. Is there organizational help and support? Are there workshop? And we provide food. Are there incentives? for the relationship is their time. So now we structure it 1 hour, 2 hours every quarter, and is their support. And this is very important, administration buy-in. So the administration has to support it. And we actually wrote a full proposal, presented all the details to our dean and our deans when I was a junior faculty to really get support. Best practices on mentorship. What we found in the other paper I talked about is structured programs work well because there's some accountability. You need dedicated time for the meetings, development and training of mentors and mentees. So every year we still have a refresher session. Mentor group meetings, mentors meet separately, mentees meet separately to see what are some issues, systematic assessment and flexibility to terminate. These are some best practices. And these are kind of the, these steps of mentorship relationships. These are some qualities: supportive, not possessive; protect, not rescue. You're not here to tell them, to constantly, let them make their own mistakes also. Professional, but friendly; positive, high standards; challenge the mentee to grow; encourage independence and accept some dependence, but you don't want them too needy; guide, but encourage personal responsibility. You don't want to compete with your mentee. You don't want to say, okay, I can do this better. You have to recognize it's a little bit of a parenting role. You need to step back. Accept that the mentee may want other mentors or grow out. These are all the different aspects of being a good mentor. Mentor abilities: providing feedback, showing interest, technical expertise, moral support, collaboration, helping them with the network. Watch out for complexity and conflict, discussing mentees with others. Not a good idea unless it's the department chair who asks you for feedback. Taking credit, saying, oh, they only got promoted because of me. Possessiveness, my mentee. Not letting go, and passive aggression. Fine, if you don't want to listen to me, I'm not going to talk to you. That's passive aggression. So you want to watch out for all of these not good qualities. Unreal expectations, that I must be successful with everyone. I must be respected and adored. My protege must be equally hardworking, high achieving, and always eager to do what I recommend. That's not a mentor. That's someone who's, basically forcing the relationship. I must reap benefit, and proteges must never leave me. So these are all unreal expectations. As I mentioned, this is our mentorship example, and I'll be done in a minute. We assistant level faculty complete a profile and goals. What are the goals? A mentor is assigned to them within the first 3 months of their hire by the department chair. Both of them sign off on the agreement. The program meets once each quarter right now over lunch. Pairs meet periodically to discuss career progression on their own time. And then we have annual evaluations and agreement renewal. We have established, I think we have gone through 80 pairs. Established in 2008, evaluations have been very positive. You'll see the assessment on the paper. Faculty morale, satisfaction, and retention has been high because with this mentorship program, people are there to take care of you, to help you. It's become a very cohesive, collaborative, and collegial culture at our institution. And this is a case which, when the slides come out, you can read it, but basically recognizing that the mentee might get other people to give them mentorship. And if it's toxic, you need to know how to take care of it. If it's good, you need to accept, yeah, that's good advice too. I'm not the only one who's giving it good advice. All right. And thank you very much for listening. And I'll now turn it over to Dr. Pasi.
Thank you very much, Anandi. Another great presentation. Lots of concepts to reflect on from how a mentorship program can be applied. A practical example. So that was great. Thank you. Please, everyone, if I can also ask you to follow the Q&A, because we have already had lots of questions, and Professor Dessel Shane has been answering some of them. So lots of things to think about in the chat as well. And last but not least, all the way from Finland, Dr. Sanna Pasi. Sanna is a pharmacist and coach working in Finnish Pharmacist Association as a specialist in education policy and career services. Her passion is to develop and produce career services to meet the needs of all members from different fields of pharmacy. She participates actively as well on the education policy conversation in the fields of pharmacy. And as a business and career coach, she wants to help people to develop their competencies and find their own unique career path in working life. In the field of pharmacy, she wants to build education pathways that meet the challenges of healthcare. And welcome, Sanna.
Thank you, Effie, and good afternoon and good morning, good evening for everyone, and greetings from Finland. At the end, I will tell you quite practical speak about how we did and how we do the program in practice here in Finland. And I will shortly tell first who we are and where we are. Finland is a small country. We are just 5.5 million inhabitants, and in our association we are 8,000 members. Finnish Pharmacist Association, we are trade union and professional union in the field of pharmacy. So our members are working in different sectors in pharmacy, and as well we have students of pharmacy are our members. And I started our program about 8 years ago, and it's part of our career services. We do one program every year, and we are quite small program. We have about 10 to 15 mentees per year. And this year, for example, I got just applications. I have 13 mentees applying to program. Our program takes about 9 months. We always start in September and we end in May. And because the amount of mentees is quite small, and our association, we are national as well. Our program is a national program. We are happy here in Finland that we are quite technology-oriented country, and straight from beginning, I've been able to do this program in hybrid way. So we meet both in face-to-face, but if you are quite far away located, you are able to take part as well through Zoom, like we are doing right now. And I think it's working pretty well. Of course, it's not the same as you are in face-to-face, but because of the resources and size of the country and so on, I think it's a good way to do mentoring program if the distances are long. All our members are welcome. They all are working in different fields, and they have some experience in working life, which I think it influence about the program. We have own program for students as well. It's pretty much the same in structure, which I tell you a bit later. At the beginning, I was thinking that what kind of structure and what kind of should I have one-on-one or group mentoring or peer-to-peer mentoring, and after a while I understood that they all fit inside the same program. I have one program, and I prioritize one-on-one because I think it's the easiest one for people who are in working life, and the schedules are quite tight, as we know. So it's easier to organize timing with one-to-one, but group as well. It has its own time, own place, and I have used it as well sometimes. And peer-to-peer, if it's again it's good option. But they all fit in same program, at least in our program. As well, when we started 8 years ago, I was thinking that should I have a different program for leadership skills, or should I have different program for international career thoughts? And because I had no resources for that, I'm doing this by myself and with some other people, but mostly by myself. So the resources are not that much. So I was a bit challenging this thing, but after a while I realized that as well, all goals are welcome to one program. There's no need for many programs. All goals are individual, and they all are welcome in one program. Mostly when mentees, when they apply to goals, are professional development goals, but as we have heard before, it's whole life mentoring, and the mentorship is tool for both personal and professional development. And how we do in practice. We have application period. I have quite structured application, which I every time think, should it be shorter or is it okay? And I try to keep it as short, as simple as possible. We ended application time about 2 weeks ago. Because I have so few, this 10 to 15 mentees, I interview every mentee. And I will start actually this process tomorrow morning. I give a ring to everyone, and I have 3 topics. And one of those is goals. Quite often when mentee send the application, the goals are not very organized, and they probably even it's probably even hard to write down by alone what kind of goals I have, and because after we know these goals, we start looking for a good mentor. It's good to be precise and clear enough what are the main goals, and that's what we talk about. And this process, I think, is most of time it's good as well for mentees, and she can rethink the goals, and we keep on talking these goals as well during the autumn when we start the formal program. Use of time is the second topic we talk about. You need to commit to program. We recommend that mentee and mentor, they meet once a month. So our program lasts 9 months, so it means quite a lot of time for meeting every month. And because mentor give his time for mentee, we say and we ask that mentee is the one who organizes all meetings, and it's her task to do. So you need time for mentoring. And it's good to know it beforehand. What does it in practice mean? And not once you have started. It's not really nice for mentor, and not, of course, for mentee, that you realize in the middle of program that you don't have a time for doing this. Of course, something can happen. 9 months is a long time, and you never know what happens. But if you can in advance, if you can avoid this, it's good. And then we start talking about who could be a best mentor for you. And that's always my question for all my mentees. And if they know that, if they know some person who is their role model or who they would like to talk about their goals, I recommend to take contact. And that's one way how to mentor can be found. I search for mentors all the time. I have as well mentor bank, but it's not said that goals that mentee has. I have a suitable coach, suitable mentor waiting, and it might be some searching from my network or for mentee network or from the bank. And that's I call here manual matching. I do it manually. I search, and our mentees search good mentor which is good for the goals the mentee has. And I think these two steps, the interview and the manual matching, are the key point and key issues for the successful mentorship in our program. And in general, I think this matching it's really important, and it's quite as well, it's quite time consuming, but once it's done properly, I think the result is good. And when we start in September, before that, we recommend that mentee and mentor will meet once to get to know each other once we start. So they still like meet each other and see that they fit together and they are good mentor pair for the program. This manual matching and this process, which I start tomorrow, actually, it might take a couple of weeks, it might take 2 months, but as I have said, all my mentees that we have always found mentor. It's not the problem. It might take some time, but it's not a problem. And here's our schedule and as well the structure, how we do that in practice. We have a formal program which we start in September and end in May. And compulsory part of mentoring is the one in the bottom, so that's pair meetings. And we recommend to meet once a month. And as we all know, that to have a good conversation and good relation, you need to meet regularly to get to know each other and have a trust between two persons. So once a month, I think is quite nice and good. And in our program, pairs meet around 5 to 8 times during this program. Then we have this optional part, which is I recommend it for everyone, but if it's not possible, that's something you can miss. But we have a group meetings, and at the beginning we have kickoff for 3 hours where we talk about what is mentoring. Then we have a sparring meetings for both mentors and mentees, where are the topics which are important for mentors and topics which are important for mentees. For mentors, I talk quite a lot about coaching, mentoring, which is really important part of mentoring when we talk about people and mentees who has experience, and we talk about development and in high level. And that's what we use some time for that. And that's because our mentors are not, and it's not not even mentioned to be like that, but they are professional in field of pharmacy, and that's how they come inside the program. And my task as a leader is give them tools for mentoring and help them with these tools and teach them if they don't know about the coaching and guiding and so on. After that, we have midway meeting, and at the end we have closing ceremony with 2-hour formal part, and after that we have a dinner together. These all our meetings are in the evening because our members are working during the daytime, so we will start around 5 o'clock in the evening. And as a leader of the mentoring program, I think this is in general important for a leader to know what I'm doing as a leader. And in our mentoring program, we are doing generation 2, 3, and 4. And generation 1 is more like mentoring where we thought, or when we thought long time ago that learning is something that someone told mentee what to do, and mentee will do like he is told. But as we know that learning is not happening like that, it's not something we do anymore. But we have some guiding. Of course, when you have a new topic, you are new at some area, there's guiding and counseling and things like that. But once we are talking about professional development or personal development, the mentee need a space for talking and reflection and thinking, and that's where we need mentoring coaching. And that's really something I want to focus on future. And at the moment we are doing a material and actually e-platform for mentoring coaching. Someone was asking, is our program international or is it a local? Our program is meant for our members, and this program actually we keep it in Finnish, so all members, our association are welcome. Some Finnish speaking there has been, but we have coped quite well and good connection with English and Finnish. But that's where we work and where we are in our mentoring program. And I showed this picture as well for mentees and mentors, and we talk about this picture. And we have this kind of support. We have an e-learning platform. It's called House-Based. There's a lot of articles, tools, career stories, platform for networking. We have this training I told you earlier. And I as well help mentees and mentors whenever needed. And as well, sometimes they might need a platform or space or something for non-formal meetings, and that's possible. I ask regularly feedback, and but here I took feedback from mentees, which I did a couple of years ago, like long-term effect, and this, what you can see, these are pretty much same we have heard earlier. And I think mentoring is really effective way of developing. And more I do, the more I just love it. It's lovely to see how much these people, how they get and how they develop, and what kind of things they figure out during the program. And here's the another one, the same questionnaire, and the question was, how much do you feel that participating mentoring program has helped you in your career? And it's 61% thought that very much or a lot. And then at the end, lessons learned. I think that planning well at the beginning is important. I planned this structure with the help of other colleague who is grand old lady in mentoring in Finland, and from the beginning we have had the same structure pretty much, and it's working quite well. Every now and then I'm thinking about the length. It's quite long, it's 9 months. But when I asked the feedback up now, everybody have told me that 9 months is good enough, and it's not too long. So next year we are still having 9 months program. Then I rely on a group. I always ask the group what are the needs and what do they want. And now I talk about the training, what we and the group meetings we are having. I do what they want, and I rely on that. And to lead a process, a program, I think you need competence about the topics concerning about development, meaningful work, coaching, etc. And if you don't know or you don't have this competence, ask help. Like I did at the beginning, I asked help and started to build my competence. I have done quite a lot of studying at the university after the start, and now I'm able to handle all the program by myself, and I'm able to ask as well help if I need. And at the end, cooperate with other mentoring programs if possible. I work quite closely with my neighbor mentoring program, and at the moment we are, for example, doing this mentoring coaching e-learning platform, and the materials we are producing those together, and it's huge help, and it's good to cooperate with others. That's my speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sanna. Thank you very much. Another excellent presentation, an example of how you can take the same principles of mentoring and apply them in a completely different context and still have a fantastic and successful mentoring program. We have a couple of questions for you, Sanna, actually. The first one is whether your program is local or it might include international. So we had somebody asking, could they participate from another country?
Yeah, thank you. Unfortunately for you, our mentoring program is in Finnish, and it's meant for our organizations, for our members. So it's if you are a member of our organization, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. And as Shane has already put in the slides, In our fourth event, we will have another example of a program in the UK, and we will also have the FIP CEO, Catherine Duggan, and hopefully she will take feedback from all participants about the potential FIP mentoring program. So that should be exciting and incorporate lessons learned from all of us, from all of you, the speakers. So one more question for you, Sana. You talked about mentoring tools in your presentation. We have a question. Somebody would like to know more about mentoring tools. If you can please provide some more details on these.
We have quite many tools. It all depends what kind of topics are where you need your tools. Mostly they are about your knowledge, your competencies, your skills, your values, your strengths, and then for example, work like timing and how you use your time during the day, and different topics which are, they are not topics for pharmacy field. It's something what they do with the peers, but they are mostly more like personal development or competence development, what we do have. And as well, I have one tool for meaningful work, which I use actually with the whole group.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think these are all the questions. So I would like to thank all the panelists for their excellent contributions. And just to remind everyone, the recording of this episode will be made available on the website. FIP would love it if you could give us your feedback to webinars@fip.org, so we may continue to improve our digital event offerings. And thank you very, very much, and good day to you all.
All right, we made it. This was terrific. Thank you again.